for joining us for tonight's joint hearing on the city's 2023 proposed budget for the Economic Development, Small and Minority Business and Technology Committees. We're going to officially call this hearing to order. As we close out 2022 and look forward to 2023, I would first like to thank all our phenomenal City of Columbus staff and employees for their unwavering commitment to the residents of our city and the hard work that went into delivering the services outlined in the 2022 budget and those proposed in the 2023 budget. I also want to thank and acknowledge our invited guest speakers this evening, Deputy Director Jennifer Finning from the Department of Development. I also see our Small Business Administrator, Mr. Mark Lundeen as well. Also from the Department of Development, Director Sam Orth, and from the Department of Technology, Director Sam Orth. Also, we have with us Assistant Director Ihab Tardos. Did I get that? Okay, good. From the Department of Technology as well. With us from the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, we have Interim Director Jason Jenkins and Dwayne Parks. So I want to thank them for their dedication and leadership to our community and thank them for their time to present to our respective departments their proposed budgets for 2023. Since I have the pleasure of holding Council's first budget hearing, I would like to share a few facts highlighting the strength of our city's financial standing going into 2023. To start, our auditor's 2023 General Revenue Fund estimate is $1,144 million. This is a $214,130,000 increase from last year's estimate of $920,870,000, which allowed us to propose our largest budget in the city's history. So we are really taking up today, I think, a point in history of having the city's largest budget, but also I think it points to the strength of our region and the strength of the work of our economic development strategy and so many other things of folks coming to the city of Columbus. Additionally, income taxes are projected to increase by 3% over 2022 collections, and property taxes are expected to grow 3.5% over 2022 receipts. This just simply means more money for crucial city services and more money going to our schools. I would be remiss if I did not give a special thank you to our city auditor, Auditor Kilgore, and to the Department of Finance led by Director Kathy Owens for continuing to ensure that Columbus remains in strong financial standing. And with that, we'll move right into our committee presentations. And first up, we have the Department of Technology. So I will turn the microphone over to Director Sam Orth.
Well, good evening, Chair Bankston, President Hardin, President Pro Tem Brown, members of Council, for giving the Department of Technology the opportunity to share our 2023 operating budget with you. As you've mentioned, I'm joined by PM O'Grady, our Chief of Staff, Rook Wagner, our Chief Operating Officer, and Ihab Tadros, our Fiscal Officer. It's great to be back here in this room with you. As you know, the last 2 years have certainly not been normal times for this city and have certainly not been normal times for DOT. We've generally recovered from our work to support the pandemic, but we're seeing a large increase in technology investment across city departments, most especially in public safety, recreation and parks, public utilities, and public service, as city departments continue to modernize their services in serving the public. Tonight, we'd like to touch on some of the work the many women and men in DOT have focused on the last year and end with our 2023 budget overview. First and foremost, we see our role as enabling other city departments to achieve their goals of serving citizens. Our primary mission is supporting agencies across the city and using technology to serve the citizens, residents, and businesses of Columbus and Central Ohio. The department provides support for 12 essential services such as network, telecommunications, applications, programming services, desktop, IT security, geographic information or mapping, and CTV, our media services. 5 enterprise applications used by all city departments, which include mapping, our Acela workforce platform, 311, Tableau, and citywide email. and 54 major line of business applications used by various city departments, in addition to certain technology services to our external customers, which include the Franklin County Board of Commissioners and Columbus City Schools. At the center of this work is the continual focus on recognizing that our efforts are successful when our customers say that they're successful, what we call the pillars of customer satisfaction. And we work in partnership with city departments to help them focus on their role of working with the public and our role of supporting them. We have a long-standing metaphor in the agency where we consider our city partners to be the important actors on the stage of life, with us being the stage crew behind them supporting the work. Probably our best example of the stage crew, the people producing our work, is Columbus Television and Media Services. CTV produces and broadcasts live and streaming media of city events, including this one right now, to the public. So far this year, CTV has produced 511 hours of video content, 245 social and media internal videos were produced, and 90% of CTV's coverage was simulcast to Facebook and YouTube Live. CTV streaming video has also seen large increases on those platforms, YouTube and Facebook, with the addition of 1,200 new subscribers. This year, we completed the upgrade of its video production to high definition for all content produced this year and going forward, and also now includes applications for both Roku and Apple TV. CTV's video programming has been widely recognized. It's Black History Month, which was produced in partnership with City Council in 2021, won this year's Alliance for Community Media Award, and CTV staff have also been recognized in the Columbus community by the Greater Columbus Arts Council for their work. Lastly, CTV is working with Columbus City Schools to broadcast K-12 educational content for students who want to continue their learning through home. DOT's service desk provides frontline incident response to the city's most common IT problems and users experience, and route those service requests and incident resolution to other sections within DOT. So far this year, DOT's service desk staff have received 52,785 service tickets and closed 52,538 tickets. To put that in perspective, that's 227 tickets closed per day. Our next step in support is often handled by our client computing group, which supports personal computers, laptops, desktops, and phones for city use in city departments. DOT's client computing group has been busy replacing aged office phones used across the city. So far in 2021 and 2022, we've replaced 1,185 departmental phones and have just 815 to go. In 2022, we've also continued our upgrade of the city's teleconference and telemeeting platform, Cisco WebEx. WebEx has seen amazing growth since before the pandemic. During the pandemic, the city's use of WebEx grew 1,368%. Since November of 2021, last year, our use has decreased since the pandemic is almost over, but still remains at 195% more than it did before the pandemic, at approximately 3,700 Cisco WebEx hours per month. We've upgraded the popular Cisco Jabber environment to a new tool called Cisco Teams, and we're adding a new solution to improve the accuracy of 911 responses for city soft phone uses. This year, we introduced a new remote access solution known as Workspace ONE, which gives remote users access to their desktops. And we also added a new security feature, multi-factor authentication, which has improved city security. In 2023, we'll be continuing the replacement of end-of-life computers and are happy to report that with our budget requests, we're doubling the number to replace from 800 to 1,600 computers in 2023. DOT's data and analytics services provides mapping, data analytics, data integration, and data management services that help city departments use data to make decisions and inform the public. Our geographic information section provided mapping for citizens to easily find their city council district. They work with health to create a new hub site for Columbus and Franklin County's addiction plan, and they created numerous data sets, maps, and data for the Digital Equity Inclusion Project that's a partnership between the city and the Digital Equity Coalition. In data management, they provide data integrations for the new 311 OneView system. For existing city systems were integrated with the new 311 platform. They added 5 more integrations with the auditor's payroll system known as Dayforce, bringing that total to 14. They also created 2 new integrations for public safety, one with our computer-aided dispatch platform, one with CODA, which is used for bus monitoring, and the other with Axon, which is the city's new body-worn camera program. On the data analytics side, they built a new dashboard, for 311, and built multiple dashboards for the new supplier diversity system implemented by Diversity and Inclusion. And then lastly, on database management, they upgraded many databases for city departments this year. Our applications group manages and maintains applications used by city departments, including 311 and work order systems used by utilities, public service, building and zoning services. This year, applications work with the city auditor to replace the legacy income tax system. They also work with the Department of Neighborhoods to implement 311, including the OneView web application and the OneLink mobile application. They also upgraded many existing systems, including DOT's help desk system, Sharewell, Health's data collection platform known as RedCap, the city's campaign finance and agent registration system, and the city's telephone directory. A major focus for applications in 2023 will be the replacement of the city's enterprise or web management system, which council approved just this last week. Thank you for that. DOT's infrastructure group provides citywide connectivity to the internet and server and storage hosting for city departments. Our ongoing monitoring by state data center staff around the clock, 365 days a year, expanded to include monitoring city network monitoring in our network management platform known as SolarWinds. Our infrastructure staff also added 100 new servers for city departments. They also replaced the city's storage array, which is used by city users to store and back up workstation files. They also upgraded the city's Active Directory system, which is used to manage user accounts. Our networking team moved and expanded police headquarters network capacity to 10 billion bits per second, or gigabits, and implemented new fiber and network connections for the police neighborhood safety security camera program. They also added connectivity to the city's new Inspector General's office, the Police and Fire Administration building, as well as smart street lighting pilot for utilities in Linden. In 2023, infrastructure will continue to focus on replacement of aged network components in city buildings and roll out fiber to recreation and park locations. While DOT is often thought of as running IT systems or services, increasingly our role is expanding to include helping other city departments plan, acquire, build, or implement their most important IT initiatives. DOT's Project Management Office and IT Systems Planning Group is here to help do just that. In 2021, in 2022, the PM office has worked with 17 city departments and 3 regional partners on 130 different IT projects. Many include the city's most important and strategic priorities, including 311 replacement, the Real-Time Crime Center, supplier diversity, body-worn and cruiser camera systems, employee telework, prevailing wages community benefits agreement, city website replacement procurement, city park safety cameras, banking services, income tax replacement, the constituent experience management, power outage management, campaign finance, and much more. Some of our outreaches help city departments negotiate better outcomes with IT suppliers, leading to measurable cost savings that can be reinvested in other city programs. In 2023, the work for our PMO team won't be slowing down, and we'll continue our work in real-time technology development, supporting the city's cybersecurity assessment and supplier diversity contract goals and performance. Lastly, the city relies on IT systems to operate and manage vital city functions that serve the public. Those systems include critical life safety, health, and financial systems. As such, unfortunately, like most governments, our systems are subject to attack by bad actors around the globe. Our information security or cybersecurity group plans, assesses, and monitors information technology security and data privacy for city IT services. So far in 2022, over 181 billion cybersecurity events were observed and evaluated by our cybersecurity team. That's an increase of 20 billion events since 2021. Over 50.6 million inappropriate or unwanted communications were prevented. Over 146,000 cyber threats were blocked by DOT Defense in-depth security protections, with 9,068 notable security events being assessed by our security analysts. 370 potential security incidents were responded to by DOT analysts, with 144 actual security incidents being contained and recovered. As part of that work, the DOT cybersecurity team upgraded and enhanced our solutions, Proofpoint, Splunk, Trellix, and others. They laid the groundwork for hybrid cloud malware protection to increase visibility on off-network computers. They closed loop email analysis and response and decreased time for malicious email response and remediation from our email end users, and implemented other security measures to protect the city's assets. They also have responded on behalf of the city to IRS 1075, PCI, DSS, HIPAA, and other financial system compliance with our city partners. And lastly, published an RFQ for the city's first ever cybersecurity assessment, which will commence in 2023. The city had 16 offers respond, and we are down to 5 offers that are being considered for implementation in 2023. Chairman Bankston, I'd like to now turn the presentation over to Ehab Tadros, our fiscal officer, who will provide details on our 2023 budget request.
Can I get remote? The remote? Remote. Oh, thank you. Okay, good evening again, Chairman Bankston. Thanks for giving us the opportunity again to present DOT budget. Sam has covered the most important part. I'm just going to cover the number related to Sam's presentation. The Department of Technology is submitting its 2023 operating budget request totaling 52.9, almost 53 million, which include 26.8 for general fund agency, portion of the 2023 technology direct and indirect charge services, and another 26 million for other fund agency and outside agency, almost 50-50 between general fund and other funds. The department is submitting a total budget that reflects a 4% vacancy credit with staffing level of 182 full-time and 8 part-time positions. Within the Technology Director Office, it's 12. We have 2 divisions, the Director Office and Information Service. So the Director Office budget, where the direct charge budget is located, is 12.5 million, and the Information Service, where the majority of the indirect budget is included, is 40.4 million. This 2023 operating budget request reflects total increase of 4.6 million or 9.5% over the 2022 operating budget. Also, this budget request reflects an increase of 14 full-time employees, full-time, and increase of 1 part-time employee. The following slides will list and highlight the major breakdown for such increases. Since we are talking about increases, the question is, do we expect the DOT budget to keep increasing? The short answer is yes, and there's multiple reasons for that. We are seeing significant increases in software and licensing renewal. Some may not know that once you buy a technology product or software, that you must continue to pay for licensing into the future. Anticipated operating funding in future years related to work that was funded by CARES Act funding, the federal money, 2 years ago. Some of these product we got covered 3 to 5 years maintenance and licensing. After that, we need to operate by our operating fund. And also, another reason for anticipated increase in our operating budget is future capital investments that may cause and result in operating budget increase as well. As shown on the previous slide, 40.4 million is budgeted under the Information Service Division to fund the cost of maintaining, supporting, and licensing a large inventory of hardware, software, fiber, and infrastructure for DOT, for which DOT is responsible. Here we're talking about more than 70 contracts. Also, there is another 9.8 million is budgeted under the Administration Division, which to fund the purchase of information system, hardware, software, and related equipment and licensing on behalf of other city agencies. This is a direct budget I have referenced before, and here we're talking about more than 120 contracts. So we're talking about close to 200 contracts between the two divisions that the department is responsible on maintaining and renewing annually. Again, going back to the 4.5 million increase, or 9.5% higher than the 2022 budget, it's easily, we can break it down between the two divisions as 3.6 million increase in cost recovery related budget and another 952,000 increase in directed charge budget. And the following slide will give more, highlight some of these items. So for the direct budget, this is our contract in behalf on other city agents, and these are just few of some. This mainly what I listed here, or what we listed here, is a new request or increases to be funded in 2023, in addition to 263,000 of various increases for different renewals. For the indirect charge services portion of the budget, the 3.6 million increase, we can kind of break it down between personnel and non-personnel. For personnel, we're talking about 3.2 million increase between the two divisions, and the following slide will highlight some of these increases in addition to what we have here. Some of the increases are due to expansion requests, and this is what we're going to highlight in the following. This is the major portions here, 1.5 million increase. Also, increase in part and supplies. This is a small, it's reflecting 2% increase over last year. And also we are listing some increases for some renewal there, and we can provide more details if needed. And also one thing I would like to highlight, that this budget reflect elimination or sunset of certain licensing is totaling about 1 million. Without the sunset of these renewals or these software and application, our budget will be higher than that. But really, this 1 million help to offset other increases everywhere else. Personnel is a major portion of our budget, and our budget reflects 14 full-time position increase of 14 full-time position from 168 to 182, and 6 of these positions are designated full-time position to public safety. Another 2 position is designated to recreation and parks, and other 3 position for our data management section. Also, this budget reflects, talking about CTV, we have 1 full-time addition as a cable broadcast writer producer, and another part-time position. Currently, talking about vacancy credit, currently we have about 27 vacancy positions. It is worth noting that DOT, as other city department, is experiencing difficulty in filling its vacancies, which could be attributed to the following. The pandemic, of course, has forced businesses to drastically rethink their work and invest more in information technology. So we are competing with more firms out there and organization. The great resignation, and this is I learned a lot about that from Director Orth. The great resignation of IT professionals during the pandemic. Many baby boomer with decades of experience retired earlier than planned. Remote IT work allowed IT staff to live in lower cost area of the country, but work on the east and west coast where wages are higher. Those factors and increase in IT labor demand and lack of supply have led to unprecedented IT labor shortage and wage competition that we never experienced. While demand has eased somewhat, U.S. IT unemployment remain low at 2% nationally, and when you compare it with others. City needs to remain focused on recruiting and retaining IT staff needed over the next several decades. As much as technology has changed in the last 50 years, it is still a people business. We need skilled women and women to do this work. And again, talking about staffing and shortage, if more questions is needed, explanation, Director Orth is very knowledgeable in this area.
Chair Bankston, that concludes our testimony this evening. We're certainly happy to address any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director. And also thank you for allowing me to have a cameo in your presentation. I saw that little picture of me there. I think that the question that's top of mind for me, and I think we talk about this in our monthly briefings, is our staffing levels. Have we seen a disruption to service because of those vacancies? And what is our plan in 2023 with this budget to fill those, or have we thought of other alternatives such as contractual services to supplement that?
Chair Basin, thank you, first of all, for the question. As you have just mentioned, as much as the technology has changed, it's really the people that do the work, and that our staff are very dedicated and hardworking. I would say at a high level, we really kind of group our work into three buckets: planning, building, and running. On the building and running side for existing city systems, I would say that we're holding our own. That's not to say that there have not been internal challenges and struggles, because there have been. I would say our group is very team-oriented, and often people will pitch in and perform roles that aren't assigned to them, and that's what's really helped us get through it. We've also had to rely on city partners at times. Where we've probably struggled the most, not is in maintaining the systems, but as you're aware, we've focused in the last 6 years in modernizing a lot of the city systems. And given city departments are also investing in new technologies to serve the public, we have struggled in probably implementing some of the projects that are on the roadmap sooner than we'd like. We have had some help from council in the last couple months with some professional service and other staff augmentation that we plan to use in the short term to help us kind of get through these times. On the employment front, I would just say to you that lots has changed and needs to continue to change. I use a metaphor of pre-pandemic. We really farmed when we thought about retention and recruitment. We would post jobs and often get 50 to well over 100 applicants responding to open positions in the department. Now we get 1, 2, or 3 positions. So it has drastically gone down since that point in time, which that has turned into us needing to be more nimble and more cost competitive, so that when we do get a candidate that we're able to offer quickly. We've been able to do some of that. But we've also had to change our focus from farming to hunting. It's not necessarily an appropriate metaphor, but we've had to go out into the community and participate in job fairs and career fairs. And we've done some of that quite successfully here recently. Ohio Health recently went through some changes, and we participated in a job fair there and were able to land several very qualified candidates as a result of that. I don't think that's going to change. So we've reorganized our HR team and are focused more externally on recruitment and going out in the community and also recruiting, especially in our community colleges and colleges in the area. I think we're also going to have to focus on bringing younger folks in and using our training resources to help skill them up and give them hands-on experience. So I'd say in summary, it's still a work in progress, but I'm really proud of the work of our HR department and all of our staff who are really kind of gotten us through all of this and who are focused on doing the right things going forward.
Thank you, and we will continue to work with you on that. I think that making sure that we have that robust service to not only our employees, that then translate to our residents. So thank you for that. One thing that always sticks top of mind to me is from a technology standpoint is our security as well. With this 2023 budget, are we able to adequately invest in that cybersecurity and other security threats that may be on the horizon?
Chair Bankston, thank you for that question as well. Cybersecurity is often, one of those overlooked things. It's not always the most glamorous thing that we do. It's sometimes think of it as, insurance for your home or your health. It's really important. You don't tend to see it until you really need it. So maintaining those investments going forward is always critical and vital. We continue to invest in our cybersecurity ability, and as I mentioned in testimony, there's lots of things that we've done to increase our ability to monitor those threats. I think one thing that we're doing for the first time as a city is really assessing all of our IT systems, not just within DOT, but across city government as a whole. We have 21 city departments, and while DOT certainly provides a large number of the systems, we do not manage all of them. And so this assessment is going to be very important to city leaders such as yourself and others, and to the mayor, and to all city department leads and IT coordinators across the city, and understanding what the state of our current systems are, and helping to really identify a roadmap, if you will, where we are now, where we need to go over the course of the next 5 or 10 years to improve our posture. I will tell you that certainly there is no one size fits all, and no, there is not one answer around cybersecurity. It's always a work in progress. Sadly, these threat actors are working literally around the clock to find new ways to attack us. So, staying vigilant and constantly being aware and improving our game and our response is our path forward. And we believe this assessment is going to be critical to building that community support in the years ahead.
Thank you. And then last for me is around diversity, equity, inclusion. It's really a question that's top of mind that I plan to ask to all departments in all of the briefings is, where's our department in minority and women business participation, and then what is our goal in 2023?
Chair Bankston, thank you again for the question. I would just tell you, on the supplier side, we are not where we want to be. We're hovering right around 9 to 10%. We had higher progress in earlier years. Having said that, I will also tell you it's a challenge for us, especially in our operating budget. Many of the license and maintenance renewals that Mr. Tadros were talking about are for some of our largest providers like Microsoft and Oracle and Cisco and so forth. And in most cases, those things are licensed directly with the publisher or the manufacturer, not necessarily through our small and minority businesses. Where we're able to really address the small and minority business spending is more in our capital project spending, and that's probably where we're a little bit behind. That workstation and computer spend that I mentioned in testimony will be focused on minority suppliers, so we're hoping to have an impact there. And also looking forward to working with our interim director at ODI on finding some creative ways to attract and potentially structurally change some of our supplier spending to give more opportunities to diverse businesses in the community.
Right. Yeah, and it is a tough one with technology because of those larger contracts and computers and PCs. So anyway, well, thank you for that information, Director. Next, we will move on to the Economic Development Committee. We will hear a presentation from the Department of Development, Division of Economic Development. This covers both the Economic Development Committee and a portion of the Small and Minority Business Committee. So with us today, we have Deputy Director Finning, who will kick us off, as well as our Economic Development Administrator, Mark Lundeen. I got the title wrong the first time. We were talking small business earlier today, so that's why it stood out in my head. But Deputy Director, I'll kick it over to you.
Chair Bankston, on behalf of Director Mike Stevens, Mark Lundeen, and Hannah Reed joining me in chambers tonight and myself, thank you for the opportunity to present the Department of Development's 2023 operating budget proposal specific to economic development, small business, and planning efforts. On this side, you can see the Department of Development is unique in that our programming and operations are funded not only by the general fund, but actually by 12 additional sources. Our proposed operating budget for 2023 is $46 million, and of that, the general fund furnishes $29 million. Of the $29 million proposed for the general fund, $13.7 million would fund staff and operations, and $15.3 million is for programmatic costs distributed across those three columns at the bottom of the page. Since our budget comes from multiple sources, that means that the $29 million in operating budget actually provides the staffing and administrative support to activate $173 million, 5 times our general fund budget in service provision to Columbus residents. By funding the department's general fund budget, the city's resources have a compounded impact in mobilizing significant resources to address our community's needs. Here you see a focus on the operating budget for the department, for specific to how the $29 million general fund proposal would be spent. Our planning division works to ensure the city's built environment fosters vibrancy, safety, and investment, and our proposed budget for staffing and resourcing for the planning division in 2023 is $2.2 million. Our economic development operating budget proposal for 2023 is $5.6 million. Our economic development budget recommendation is increased by 15% for 2023 over 2022. Our budget is responsive to Mayor Ginther's Opportunity Rising equity agenda, and one of the aspirations of Opportunity Rising is that every business has equal access to succeed and resources and opportunities to succeed, meaning we particularly work to break down racial disparities in creating opportunity for small business owners and entrepreneurs of color. In planning the 2023 budget, approximately $1.3 million is specifically focused on small business initiatives. A success story from 2022 was the distribution of the Small Business Recovery Fund in partnership with Franklin County. Early in the pandemic, PPP loans were disproportionately being awarded to white-owned small businesses. This fund sought to more equitably distribute this federal funding. To date, 945 Franklin County small businesses have been awarded $6.3 million in COVID relief funding, with 87% of the awardees being minority-owned businesses. You can see here Giselle Pierre-Louis, the owner of Sprout Early Education Center, who is one of the recipients of this funding, with a quote about what that funding meant to her. Moving forward into 2023, our department will continue to support the implementation of the Small Business Agenda, which was first introduced in January of 2022. The 4 pillars of the Small Business Agenda are to expand awareness of resources available to small businesses, build capacity of the ecosystem of stakeholders, improve services and capital provision, and foster connectivity among anchors and small businesses. Of the $1.3 million in the operating fund focused on small business, some of the key initiatives I would highlight include, continued promotion of the CBUS Small Biz Hub, which launched in 2022, including the rollout of new features that will help local businesses support one another. So companies seeking, for example, if a bakery were seeking social media support, they could find one another and make connections to support each other's businesses. $500,000 will continue the Accelerate Columbus programming, which is support for small businesses such as marketing, website development, financial counseling, training, and other technical assistance provision to our small businesses. It'll also fund seed funding for City for Freedom from the city for Freedom Equity Inc., which is a Black-led community development financial institution that provides microloans and coaching to Black business owners and entrepreneurs who have been historically underbanked. And finally, we plan to put forth a resource fair focused on growing anchor business relationships and making greater awareness of for small businesses of kind of the B2B services of how they can work with one another. Transitioning into our economic development efforts, Opportunity Rising guides us to ensure that every resident earns a wage to support their household. In 2022, thank you, Mark. In 2022, our economic development team, in partnership with City Council, entered into 28 new business expansion agreements, collectively estimated to create more than 3,200 new jobs and $226 million in new payroll. This level of economic development activity is consistent with the number of agreements that have been developed over the past 20 years or so. So as past agreements are expiring, there's consistency in the number of agreements that are coming forward. The 2023 operating budget will support consistency in the number of agreements that we pursue moving forward. And as you know, Chair Bankston, we are selective in pursuing the business attraction opportunities that we pursue, and we use an equity scorecard to determine if we will offer an incentive to a company locating or building in Columbus and how generous it will be. Companies that invest in opportunity neighborhoods, pay above average wages, and offer competitive employee benefits are likely to earn more favorable agreements in partnering with our department. That is the content that I've prepared for tonight. I'm happy to field your questions.
Thank you, Deputy Director. And again, it's really promising to see the economic health of our city and region. Speak to me, how is the Department of Development situating itself via this budget to build on what was presented at the 2022 Turk report at the Tax Incentive Review Committee?
Yes, the findings of the 2021 Turk report found that Columbus tax incentives are succeeding in encouraging real estate investment and creating jobs. The report found that the 93 companies in our portfolio together invested $1.9 billion in real property improvements, which was 110% of the portfolio's goal. Companies in our incentive portfolio are also at 119% of employee retention. And despite market challenges, job creation in the portfolio is rebounding. In 2020, job creation expectations were at 58% of pre-pandemic goals or of original goals for those agreements. And in 2021, they were at 89% of goals. So we're seeing progress moving back towards pre-pandemic hiring expectations. So we'll continue to support and partner with these businesses as we look forward to, making sure that these agreements are meeting their expectations.
Thank you. And one of the things that, we have talked about and that I mentioned is our economic development strategy, not being just about bringing jobs, but now with the rise of work from home, our economic development strategy also being about place. So can you talk to me about how is economic development supporting the need for more mixed-use development through this budget? I tell folks all the time, I'm happy for you to work at home. I just need your home to be in the city of Columbus. And then for that to happen, we have to have, I think, vibrant neighborhoods, and that is done through mixed-use development.
Yes, and when we're looking at economic development agreements that are, for example, for mixed-use development that include housing, we're working in conjunction with Aaron Prosser, the Assistant Director for Housing Strategies, to look at how are we making sure that housing is being included in those developments, including affordable housing. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Mark?
Thank you. And then last but not least, I think we saw the impacts from the COVID-19 recovery grants on small businesses, which I think speaks volumes. What's even more great, and it's not on this slide, but we show that map of the neighborhoods that have been impacted. And it was great to see those dots all across the city. But now as we move out of what I would say survival mode and really think about sustainability for our small business, I'm encouraged, one, to see that small business spending is up 25% in this budget. That's amazing. Can you just talk to me about what the department's plans are for funding around small business investment programs? And is there support in other pieces of the budget? I know there's those different funds that the department administers and oversees.
Yes, small business is unique in that the operating fund is the budget that fuels our small business work. You want to add to that? Go for it.
Chair Bankston, thanks for the question. So you're right in that we have been focused for 2 years on surviving with our small businesses and that we're able to now pivot and look at thriving as a small business. I think one example that we're going to roll out in January 2023 is our Accelerate Columbus program that's really focused on that support for the specific need that a small business had. So as Director Fenning was sharing, if a business needs website support or photography or social media or financial support, maybe legal counseling or a broader range of technical assistance, we have a series of entrepreneurial service organizations that are lined up to provide these services. So we're really excited to roll that out, and we think it can be a point where businesses are able to move beyond just that month-to-month survival, but actually look into the long term and see how they can grow their business in the future.
Thank you, Administrator, and thank you, Deputy Director. As you know, that my philosophy around the small business space is about sustainability, right? It makes us feel good when we get those grants and folks are able to raise their banner and say, look what this exterior grant did for my business. But if they're not open 1 year from that day, right, we've not done them justice. And so moving into this space of investing in ESOs and making sure that we create an ecosystem for our small businesses to thrive, not just doing business with the city, but creating a true ecosystem where they're doing business with each other and other anchor institutions is going to be critical. Because as you know, small business is the heartbeat of our city. So thank you all for the work that you've been doing there. Last but not least, the new guy on the block, our Office of Diversity and Inclusion. We will hear a presentation from that office and my good friend, Interim Director Jason Jenkins oversees that department. Director?
Thank you. Good evening, Committee Chair Bankston. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here to be able to present to you the 2023 Office of Diversity and Inclusion budget. Like many of the other departments, we are heavy as it relates to our personnel. But let me just go back a little bit and talk a little. Since our inception of 2016, a lot has been done in this department. Our predecessors have done tremendous work as it related to the disparity study being completed. This year, we started looking at those goals and putting metrics around a lot of our city projects. That is being tracked currently through Tableau. You'll hear through this presentation a lot of cross-departmental work that we've done throughout the city. So what I want to do is just jump right into the slides. There we go. So some of the other operating systems that we're going to bring on in 2023, along with Tableau, is B2G system, working with the Office of Technology, the Department of Technology, as well as our LP tracker. But what we want to focus on is cross-departmental training. So we'll be looking at internally to the department as well as externally to the department, making sure that we're bringing on the right staff, the right individuals to cross-departmentally train, understand this work, understand this software. Right now, our lines of business that we're working through are supplier diversity, workforce equity, and then also our data. So what we'll be looking at is staffing up, making sure that we have the right amount of folks in the right positions, making sure that they're moving forward in those three lines of business. As we're looking at staffing, currently we're at 7. We're looking in Q1 to bring on an additional 3. Q2, we'll take a step back, review, take a look at where we are, level set, make sure that we're focusing on our training of our staff, making sure that we're focusing on the right software that we're bringing on board, make sure everybody's cross-departmentally trained and certified to start looking at some of these small minority businesses that we're bringing into the city. And then Q3 and Q4, we'll bring on the additional 4 staff. And in that space, that'll round us out to 14 staff total, if need be. Also, what we're looking at, if we can get back to the slides there. And so if we're looking at our budget for this year, again, still aggressively looking at outreach and engagement for our small businesses. You heard today, looking for those diverse businesses that can do the work of the city. We have 15 different departments. Each department is very unique to their specific needs. On the supplier side, as we'll also be looking at the workforce side in 2 parts. On the first part of the workforce side, we'll be looking at training up our diverse and minority population as well as our women, and then also hiring, bringing in diverse candidates within each department. So we'll be working closely with each department as well as HR and civil service to make sure we're identifying those candidates to move them through the process. This second point, we're looking at a $50,000 budget expansion, which will work with the Department of Development to look at that capital budget piece. We see a large gap a lot of times with our small minority-owned businesses when it comes to dollars, when it comes to capital. So we're bringing on a consultant to look at what we can do as a city. I know there are some strict rules around how we can support, where we can support. So we want to work with the Office of Development to make sure that we're doing the right things when it comes to providing capital for our small businesses. And then lastly, we would like to do a joint project with My Brother's Keeper, with our young entrepreneurial programs. And in that particular program, we're also not only looking at just your regular small businesses, whether it's a service, but we also are looking at our skilled trades. So a lot of our young folks coming out of high school who may be interested in electrician or plumbing or something to that effect, we want to make sure that we're training them up, teaching them to not only the skill, but also teaching them how to be a small business owner. And then, like I said, the bulk of our support will come around our full-time personnel and just making sure that we're onboarded correctly, making sure that our training is up to par, and making sure that we have the right software to track the systems that we're putting in place for our minority vendors. And that is all for my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Director, for that. And you actually answered 2 of my questions because I was really interested in that Minority Business Assistance Program and the Diversity Youth Entrepreneurship Program. So really happy to see those initiatives moving forward. What from your vantage point, what is the current state of supplier diversity at the city? And what are our plans to continue to move forward, things that were brought up in the disparity study, but also I think, I know the mayor has a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, so does this council. What is the current state of our supplier diversity for the city as a whole? And then what is our plan of action to continue to build on that?
So currently, we are evaluating all of our numbers for 2022. We print our dashboard yearly, so we'll be updating that dashboard here shortly, I believe the first quarter of 23. From the preliminary numbers, it looks like we're doing well. We can definitely do better. There's always room for growth and improvement, even through COVID. Even through some of the challenges that we've seen as a city, we've grown and we continue to grow. So you'll see the dip, but it'll align with what we've seen nationally as it relates to COVID. But I think our bounce back is solid, and I think we're moving in the right direction. With the B2G system coming online, in line with Tableau as well as the LP tracker, we'll be able to capture information around our utilization numbers, but then also around our minority spend a lot more accurately and swifter. So our goal is to make sure that we're aligning that with the disparity study and what we've seen in the disparity study. Our goals around our measurements for each city project, we want to right-size those. Dwayne can talk a little bit more about how we go about doing that in '23, but I think our tracking system of all those goals will be a lot cleaner in '23 with this software that we're implementing.
Gotcha. And would you say that, you know, some of those, the data and things, is that reflective in the department not being at full strength as far as from a staffing standpoint?
Absolutely. I think not being at staffing strength and not being able to thoroughly communicate with each department on a consistent basis has definitely been challenging, but we're always up for the challenge in the Department of Diversity and Inclusion.
Well, thank you, Director. I look forward to your leadership. You're new, so I'm not going to beat up on you too much here today. We'll let you get your feet wet a little bit before we do that. Thank you again to all of the departments today for your presentations. As I said before, you know, this budget, I think, is reflective of the health of our community and the work of all of your departments, so that's to be commended. I do want to make sure that the public has an opportunity that if you want to see the full budget in detail, if you're a geek like me and like to look at numbers and spreadsheets, it is available for you on the city's website. You can go to columbus.gov/finance, and you will find it there at our finance department's webpage. With that, we don't have any speaker slips. I'm looking over at JP. No speaker slips. And are there any folks in council chambers that would like to speak this evening? Seeing none, we will move on and wrap up today's hearing. So once again, I would like to thank all the directors and city staff that presented this evening for helping to put this hearing together, but also want to thank the countless number of folks behind the scenes. Oftentimes, we're the faces and you see us, but it's really the folks behind the scenes that make our city go and also make us look good. So thank you to you all, but also thank you to your dedicated staff. And on that note, I want to thank my staff, JP Durval, our legislative aide, Kevin Jones, who is the legislative assistant for our office, and Jonathan Brown, as well as our legislative research office staff, Andrew Dyer, who is here with us, Ms. Kirsten Estos, and the director of our legislative research office, Mr. Matt Erickson, for the hard work that they put in to this process as far as our budget, but also the work that they do every single day to ensure that we are passing great legislation for the people of Columbus. The next budget hearing will be chaired by our President Pro Tem, Elizabeth Brown, and will take place tomorrow at 12 p.m. The hearing there will cover the proposed budgets for the Finance, Education, and Recreation and Parks Committees. To provide written or in-person testimony, please email Tigges Zemi at tzemene@columbus.gov by 11 a.m. tomorrow. That's all we have tonight, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for being here. Have a good evening.